Okay, so I would ask Ms. Fulbright if you'd mind giving an invocation.
Thank you. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful day. We thank you for the bounteous meal that we just had and for all the people who worked so hard to prepare it. We ask you to bless us and guide us as we go into this meeting. We ask you to forgive us, dear Lord, when we have not done as we should do, and forgive us for being silent and not speaking up when we think that we should. Just guide us and direct us and encourage us and bless all the people out there everywhere who are expecting a great Thanksgiving. We hope they all have it. Thank you. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Fulbright. Roll call.
Meredith Fraley.
Here.
Bill England.
Here.
Bill John Baker.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Here.
Harley Buzzer.
Here.
Julia Coates.
Here.
Brad Cobb.
Honey.
Joe Crittenden.
Here.
Jody Fishinghawk. Here. Janelle Fulbright.
Here.
Don Garvin. Chuck Costin.
Here.
Connie Gloria Jordan. Present. Curtis Snell.
Here.
Chris Stokes.
Here.
David Thornton. Sarah Town Watts.
Honey, we have a quorum. Next order of business is approval of the October 29 regular session minutes.
So moved.
Second. Moved in second. Any discussion on the minutes as written? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Madam Chair, I would like to amend the agenda to change item 2 under new business up to before reports.
Second.
Item 2 under new business, up to before reports.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and we got a second. Any discussion on amending the agenda to do that? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, item 2 under new business is an act amending the legislative act setting annual stipends and special class and all of that for our judges and justices. Melanie, you want to present that?
I certainly can. Thank you, Madam Speaker. What this act would do is to, one, rename the tribunal to the Supreme Court as it should be, but also add the judges of the district court on the same basis as the justices of the Supreme Court are treated. They're treated as special employees and therefore eligible for retirement and insurance. None of the justices so far have taken advantage of the retirement, but I think there is interest in doing so, and so we would propose that it be made the same for all of them.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. Judge Fight, I appreciate your being here today. Did you have anything you wanted to say?
It's like I told Councilman Garvin, only if you all have any questions. I'm sure that you get enough lawyers talking to you anyway all the time. So, this would assist me greatly. The health insurance is primarily what I'm interested in. My wife is going to be retiring the first of the year, and health insurance is tough to find, I found out. And I would really appreciate the help with that. And I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments for Judge Fight? Yes.
Well, I'm all for doing this, and I think I've told Judge Fight that I think that they need to have the same benefits that this body enjoys. I did have one question though, and this is not towards Judge Fight, but I see where we have a hand in setting the salary for the not the tribunal anymore, the Supreme Court, but I didn't see anywhere in here about the district judges.
On their salary?
Right, on their salary. And I think if we're going to extend those benefits, we probably are to put the salary in there so all judges are treated exactly the same, that this body would set their salary also.
Melanie, do you have a comment to that? I understand this was in order to make them special employees and specifically for those specific provisions.
It would, and we didn't address in this bill the compensation for the judges. As Councilor Jordan noted, the justices are set by statute. The judges have not been. And so on the advice of the court is how those judges are compensated, and then we enter into contracts to make the payments to the judges. So that's presently how it's done. They're compensated for both the regular dockets as well as special dockets that they have for child support enforcement and the healing and wellness court, as you know. So what we can do is provide what those compensation rates are, if that's of interest to the committee.
Ms. Jordan?
I would just make a motion that we include in here where it talks about setting the Supreme Court's salaries by statute, that we include all judges in that provision. And I think we could do it today, and I would just make that in the form of a motion. I would make a motion we pass this, and that be
So you're
part
not
of the
asking
motion.
for an amendment to this?
No, I'm making the motion and asking that this be corrected at the same time.
Ms. Councilwoman?
Point of order, I believe there's a motion on the floor.
Okay,
to
then I'll
approve this.
direct a friendly
Excuse me, I
amendment.
still have the floor, I believe. So there's a motion to do that, and this would be a budgetary item. So I don't know. I mean, of course, it's at your discretion, Speaker Fraley, but we haven't identified funding. It would be an executive and finance issue, and should be really done separately from this because we don't even discuss numbers. So, thank you.
I think that's kind of what you want to do, discuss it separately, right?
I don't want to discuss numbers. I just want it put in there that in the future, we treat all the judges the same. That all will be set by statute,
Okay,
all the
so-
salaries.
So you're asking her for a friendly amendment,
I would ask
correct?
her for a friendly amendment.
Just a point of information. Please state again what the friendly amendment is.
I think where it says that the Supreme Court judges are set by statute, we would just say all judges. Salaries are set by statute. I'm not concerned with what they're making now. I just think there needs to be a continuity for all judges.
I would like to hear from our attorney and our Secretary of State on comment before I accept it, if that would be okay, Speaker Fraley.
Mr. Henry?
Just to make, so I can understand the motion. Ms. Jordan, under Section 33, are you saying that the salary for Justice of the Supreme Court and the Chief Judge, and strike the actual salary number, and just say that they will be set by
Right.
statute or set by the court?
Well, set by, the salary for the Justice of the Supreme Court shall be $27,600 per annum, and the salary for the Chief Justice shall be $28,800 per annum, and then somewhere in here I think it says it's set through we make provisions for it. And I just want all judges to be the same. I don't want to get to a point where maybe our contracting judges, I could see a day where instead of getting what they really should get, we give them something quite a bit less. I want to make sure that they're guaranteed that their salaries will not be reduced or diminished for some political reason.
Madam Speaker, I'm not going to accept, not because I can't support it, but because I can't get my arms around what the unintended consequences might be and the separation of powers.
Ms. Knight, did you want to make a comment? I know you didn't get to comment. Is that all right with you, Ms. Councilwoman?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker.
One thing that I would like to see, if we're talking about this, is I would like to see the justices set their own salaries. I think that's an important part of the separation of powers. That you don't want one branch of the government either grossly increasing or diminishing the salary of a judge, especially midterm. One thing that, in order to keep all the judges on the equal playing field, instead of sitting it out specifically by statute, is just saying that the justices will set the salaries of the justices in the courts according to the needs of the court in accordance with the comprehensive budget. Because you all do pass the comprehensive budget, you give a certain amount of money to the judicial branch. You let the judges set their salaries. Something like that.
And I would make that in the form of a motion. That would make them more independent.
I can write something like that.
Since she didn't accept my friendly amendment, I believe now I can make a motion.
Todd, aren't friendly amendments, whether they are accepted or not accepted, are those open for debate?
No, friendly amendment is a parliamentary procedure to basically bypass debate and say, do you adopt this as part of the act that you're sponsoring? Once a friendly amendment is rejected, it is open for any member of the body to make an amendment to the main motion, which is the passage of this act.
So that's what I want to do, make an amendment to the main motion.
All right. Now that particular action is open for debate, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Hoskins?
I want to make sure I understand the motion, then I have a question for Todd. Is the motion to embrace what Mr. Hembry just said with respect to the council not setting in statute district court salaries? That's the
Is that directed to me?
Yeah, that if I could.
We will set their budget, and within their budget, they would set their salary, much like we do for ourselves.
And we set the. We would continue to set the Supreme Court justices' salary, just not the district court, or
No, we're
none
going
of
to
them.
move them all to being an independent body.
Okay.
Well, that's
Todd,
what
Mr. Hembry? Mr. Hoskins
Yes.
has a question?
I guess where I pause is I understand the separation of powers issue, but the fact of the matter is federal court salaries are set by the United States Congress. Isn't that true? And state, I know we don't have to mirror image, states and the federal government, but I guess I'm not too troubled that we can't responsibly set judicial salaries and maybe make them stable for a term of a justice rather than the middle of his or her term. But you're concerned about a separation of powers issue with this setting?
Well, obviously, with the separation, the constitutional duties of the council is to hold the purse strings of the nation. Okay, just as if, and as we've kind of what has actually been stated in the court case before, the golden rule is the one who has the gold rules. Okay, you want to make sure that each branch of the government is well funded to carry out the duties that they constitutionally have. I have right now we have set the judicial salaries by statute, which is perfectly constitutional. Okay, but if bringing on Miss Jordan's comments, if she wants the district court judges to be on equal footing with the Supreme Court justices, one or two things need to happen. We either set the district court judges' salaries by statute and put that figure in here, or we say you all judges will handle their own salaries through that branch. That's the point where I'm coming from on that.
And just finally, the comment that we set our salaries are in statute, are they not?
We have a compensation committee that you have not really taken advantage of.
So our salaries aren't set through the normal legislative process where an act would go before the chief and he could veto.
Well, what it is you have a compensation committee that makes a recommendation. That recommendation then would be put in the form. If you accept that recommendation, you would put it in form of an act that would be passed and go through the constitutional process.
So we ultimately set our salaries by statute.
Right.
Principal chief and
The justices under this motion would not have their salaries set by statute. They'd have their salaries set by their own decision, which doesn't appear to be held accountable by any other branch.
Other than
the good
budgetary
and then you put the council in a position where if they skyrocket their salaries, what do we come back the next year and say we're going to cut your budget so you can't fund it?
Or we can do it midterm.
Okay.
or yeah, mid budgetary cycle.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Garvin.
Excuse me, point of order. Was there a second to her motion?
I think Jody did. Did you not? Yeah, she did.
I would encourage all the council to vote against this amendment. I think it's just creating a big problem. And what she said may be right, but it needs to be separated and done another day, not today. So I request everybody to vote against her amendment.
Any other comments, questions? Okay, we are voting on Ms. Jordan's amendment to this, what was it, resolution. All in favor of the amendment signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Want to do a roll call? Yes, is you support the amendment.
If they're not, we're not you.
Brad Cobb,
No.
Julia Coates,
No.
Harley Buzzard,
No.
Jack Baker,
No.
Bill John Baker,
No.
Bill England,
No.
Carrie Cowan Watts,
No.
David Thornton,
No.
Curtis Snell,
No.
Chris Stowe,
No.
Tanya Boyd Jordan,
Yes.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Don Garvin,
No.
Janelle Fulbright,
No.
Meredith Fraley,
No.
Jody Fishinghawk,
Yes.
Joe Crenton.
Yes.
Four no and 13 yes. No, 4 yes. 4 yay.
13 nay.
13 nay. Amendment fails. Now back to Ms. Cowan's, continue. Did you have anything further, Ms. Cowan?
Yeah, I mean, this just makes sense, and I hope we can all support this action.
Any questions or further comments? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
By acclamation.
Yes, by acclamation.
Thank you for letting me go first. I appreciate it very much. Good to
Thank
see
you
you
for
all
being
again.
here.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Now we're to reports. Ms. Wright, or is anyone here from Marshal Service? To be-
I guess Marshal Service isn't able to attend, but I'd be happy to take back any questions if you have any about the report.
Ms. Fisher-Rod?
Yeah, I've asked about for 5 or 6 months in a row about the tape, and I do believe you have too.
Which,
The one that was the flag incident. We requested to view it, and they said they'd let us view it privately, so it won't air.
Ms.
And that's been
Hammond,
ongoing
do you
for
want to
months.
respond to that?
I can. I've got them too. I've got the disc. I'd be happy to bring them over here and set up for Mr. Hembry so that a small number could view it at one time, so that it's not something public. I can get with Todd and set that up.
Appreciate it. Next report is Ms. Hammond. Just stay right up there. Or the next 2 reports.
I don't have anything new on the GEG matter. On our regular report, as you can see, we've been doing some interviewing. One of our young attorneys had the privilege of attending a listening conference in Minnesota and actually met the United States Attorney General. I was at the State Bar Association and the State District Attorneys Association last week. We are still the only Indian tribe that's a member of the District Attorneys Association. They're always very happy to have us there. I do too. I was surprised, for example, that the Creeks haven't tried to be part of that organization. We're attending the poultry trial every day. I don't know if you all saw the latest issue of our newspaper, the Cherokee Phoenix, the cartoon in it. In the federal courtroom, and particularly in this trial, there are so many documents and so many exhibits. Everything is done on screens, so that if you're referring to exhibit, 4712, somebody just keys it in and it appears on screens everywhere. Well, the judge had that cartoon put on the screens today. and showed it to the audience. And our young assistant attorney general that was there said that the lawyers appeared mildly amused. Mildly. So I thought that was interesting. We continue to press forward with our water rights and talk to people and try to educate folks. We've met with some of the poultry industry and other interested stakeholders about what we're trying to accomplish with the appeal. Of course, we have to maintain that appeal to remain at the table and to continue to assert our rights and protect our rights. Some of you...
Diane, may I interrupt just a moment?
Yes,
Along those lines, you've met recently with the, I think we've all been getting the emails from the poultry, some of the poultry
producers, Ms. Sanders or Saunders and the poultry producers.
Can you share with us what it is that they want Cherokee Nation to do?
Well, I think it's more what they don't want us to do. And when we met with some of the folks from the industry, we got the same sort of thing. It's mildly gratifying for me to report that they're a little terrified of us. I don't know if the really big company is or not, but they are afraid of what we're trying to do, and what they hear is that Cherokee Nation's going to sue me. Cherokee Nation wants to put us out of business. And of course that's not true. I mean, and you know, we just say the same things that we say publicly. The chief was at that last meeting. We're trying to protect our water rights. We're all interested in cleaning up the river. It's not something that can be done immediately. It's going to require participation by everyone. And I think truly that we're in a better position to try to accomplish that or facilitate that than the state.
And I know our mission in the appeal is our water rights. I mean, do they really want us, though, ultimately to take some position that's at odds with the state of Oklahoma in this litigation as far as...
Oh, I think they would like that. I don't know that they really expect it, but I think primarily they want to know that we're not after them. It's a little bit of, maybe not paranoia, but skittishness, or, you know, they just want to hear us say that we're not trying to get millions of dollars from you or close you down.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Continue, Ms. Hammond.
So that's ongoing. The other thing I was telling a few of you right before we got started, one of the things that we regularly do is use some outside patent and trademark attorneys to combat folks who are trying to trademark the word Cherokee. And one of the ones that has been ongoing for some time is an adult entertainer. I'm not making it up. I swear I'm not. And of course, she's out of California. I'm sorry, but she is. And we've got to the point where we may actually have to take some depositions or submit some sworn statements about the use of the name Cherokee and what it means and how long we've been using it and all those sorts of things. So it's mildly amusing, but it's one that certainly we can't lose. And we've been really successful in that. And the more often we do it, the better credibility we have at the office. And they've in fact started denying some on their own.
Will we be going after Jeep Cherokee?
You know, the two that we've talked about are, gosh, I wish Miss Hill was here. She's the one that facilitates most of this. Yes, and like that.
It's Liz Claiborne's Cherokee, isn't it?
No, this is the one that is sold at Target.
It is Cherokee.
It's called Cherokee.
Yeah. But the company has a different name. Anyway, I'm sorry, I can't remember. We have protested a couple of their new ones where they're trying to use the name on different things. We haven't done anything against the auto manufacturer because those are the two big ones. We just started doing this a few years ago, and we've been successful recently. Some of those have been in existence for a long time. So we're building.
Ms. Callen,
Can you share with them how bad, like, the name of this is, or is that?
I don't remember what it is, but it's something.
No, you're talking about the
Cherokee
entertainer
Princess.
is the Cherokee Princess.
Yes, she is.
That's how bad it is.
Yes, she is. And one of the things that she said in rebuttal was that You know, we were associated with Harrah's, and Harrah's used topless dancers and showgirls, and of course, that's not us. That's the Eastern Band. And at theirs, they don't do that either. That's Las Vegas. But, you know, that's just the level of ignorance from a lot of folks, and you just have to educate and combat. So, maybe talking to some of you guys about making statements for us. Other than that, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Any questions or comments? You know what you're thinking.
Thank you.
Diane,
I'm sorry.
I didn't understand, how were you going to report to us on the case that she referenced? But I'm kind of interested in that too.
You want to view the evidence, which, you know, there's not been any litigation filed yet, right, Mr. Huffman? But there have been, we've got a letter indicating that there may be. So obviously we don't want to do that in any sort of public forum. I would think maybe bringing it over here and doing a few people at a time.
Well, how many of us can get together with you?
Less than 9, right?
Okay.
So we just call you?
Just make sure there's just not a
I'll
quorum.
coordinate with
Okay.
Mr. Hembry so we can, anybody that wants to can look at that. I think you certainly have a right to.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Hammond.
Thank you.
There's no one here from the Election Commission. We do have their report in the book. Tax Commission, anyone from Tax Commission? Everybody on vacation? I guess so. Ms. Hanby, thank you for coming here today.
I appreciate it.
I guess I should say I missed the last meeting that I am here today. I have just a couple of updates from the last report that was submitted to the council. One is that the Senate and House Conference Committee came up with some increases to contract support, which is really good news for us. The BIA was increased $18.7 million for a total of $166 million in contract support, and IHS had an increase of $116 million for a total of $398 million nationally. We just completed negotiating contract support, some increases to contract support for 2009, which will be included in the shortfall report, which, to sum all that up, it means that we're even in a better position to receive some of that funding. So we just concluded that. Also, on the Recovery Act, I reported last month that we successfully submitted 23 reports online. All of that information is on recovery.gov. Probably more information than you ever wanted to see, but all of that is published for the public to see. Tomorrow we have scheduled a meeting with the rural water districts to go over the reporting requirements with them. We have worked with community development to work on an agreement with those water districts, and part of the reporting requirements is that they're considered a subrecipient, and so we're going to have to rely on them for some of the reporting. So tomorrow afternoon we have scheduled for all of those folks to come into the nation, and I will be doing some training with them on that reporting. Also, I'll let you know that the acting the acting director at the regional office in Muskogee has been extended for 120 days. So that's all I have, unless there are any questions.
Any questions? Yes, Mr. Bunzer?
Vicki, I'd asked this over in the community services meeting, and I'm sure it was probably a mistake, but they said they were waiting on the FY09 funds for housing or community services. Do you know anything about that?
Or are you talking about HIP funding?
Yeah, no, for the housing funds for the water and sanitation program where there's individual water and sewer facilities. The report said they were waiting on those funds yet for '09, and it's got to be a mistake.
Actually, those came in, it was some of the regular funding,
It
I
comes
think,
down
that
with
we were
regular
missing.
funding.
And what we found out is there was a delay in the paperwork, but that has now been done. It's '09 funds that actually got received in 2010, but that has been resolved.
Oh, okay. That was the question. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments from Ms. Hanby? Thank you very much. And no one here from Gaming Commission, so Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Codification.
Codification, we have, I have just spoken, actually day before, well, Friday, with Mr., I want to remember the name, Kreb from Westlaw. He is going to be in town next week, and this is something that Diane does not know, but Mason does, wants to meet with myself and Mr. Morton or any other representative of the Cherokee Nation to give proposals of what they could do and how much it will cost. He's going to be in town November 22nd. I intend on having a meeting with him on that date with Ms. Hammonds and Mr. Morton and anyone else that would be interested in attending, and we'll get some hard figures as to what to do.
Do you have any questions from Mr. Henry on codification? Thank you very much. Under old business, we have a resolution authorizing confirmation of William Grass to the Board of Managers of Cherokee Medical Services. Yes, Mrs. Jordan?
The next 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the act that I was sponsoring, the fifth one, Mr. Stewart could not make it here today, and they are in the process, as they were last month, of putting together, doing some work on the possibility of combining some boards.
Yes.
And when we talked last, which was a couple of days ago, he suggested that we might want to table this again, these first 5 items, for one more month. And I think you've gotten a memorandum from, looks like from CMB, that's kind of along the same lines, that everybody seems to be working towards some single board issues. And so I make a motion that we table, they're not, yeah, they are numbered 1 through 5 under old business for another month.
Ms. Fishinghall, second. Now discussion on no, there's no discussion on tabling. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thanks, Ms. Jordan. We got rid of that fast. Item 6 is an act amending the motor vehicle licensing and tax code. Mr. Buzzard, is there someone?
Yeah, I'll make a motion we approve this act.
Second. Moved in second. Any discussion? Yes, Ms. Jordan?
Could I direct this towards
Sure.
Harley? Harley, tell me how this is going to work. I really don't have we're going to take 10% off the top of the...
10% off the total amount of the tag tax dollars, and then spread it out over the 14 county jurisdiction boundaries. Schools will be able to apply for these dollars, which is $25,000 a year, and they can apply for 2 consecutive years. And once they apply for 2 consecutive years and are awarded, they'll have to sit out a year before they can apply again. What this does is, I've had some schools approach me that want to do some programs, and some of them are language programs, and they don't have any money to start up. They don't have a classroom, don't have a teacher, and it would put a carrot out there for them to go and do that stuff. Some of them have come to me and said they'd like to apply for dollars to do outdoor classrooms. I think we have one over in Ionola, which takes a lot of money to do that if you set up the infrastructure for those things, and this money would actually go toward those proposals that come in. So I think it's a good fund. I think it's another way that the schools can benefit from our tag tax, because mainly those tag tax that we get are paid by tribal citizens. I feel like a lot of these tag tax that goes into the school systems now, the tribal citizens aren't getting the benefit out of those taxes, so that's the reason I want to propose this amendment, we can do this. So I would appreciate all the support that we can on this particular bill.
Mr. Thornton and then Ms. Fishinghall.
What you're saying is you're taking 10% out of the schools in my district. Each one of them, you're taking 10% of their funding.
We're taking 10% of the total tag tax, and which actually...
If they got 100% of their funding, then you're taking 10% of their funding.
You could look at it that way, yes.
Okay.
Actually,
now,
it'd be...
in this bill, does it say that you're giving funding to schools, or giving a percentage to those schools that have children that are not Cherokee?
No, it's the schools that receive the funding now.
But they're going to schools.
The way the funding is distributed now is to go by the JOM list in those schools, so it'll go to the people that have the JOM students.
I don't understand this. Maybe I just can't comprehend it. But I'd like to have it explained.
The process explained.
Huh?
The process explained of how it would...
Yes.
Well, the example that I gave a while ago is about the only way I know to explain it. That we're taking 10% of the tag tax and putting into a pool. Every school within the 14 county jurisdiction boundary will be able to apply for those funds with the proposal. And the proposal, I believe, it specifies language, culture, and any program that has to do with Indian kids or Indian students. And if they can come up with a proposal, then they can apply for $25,000 for that particular program.
But it has Sequoia High School in here, and it's bringing up that the students that are not, that are just Indian, that the Cherokees, which one benefits off of this? Is this going to go to Sequoia?
The whole school would benefit from it. Because what's happening right now, as I see with the tag fund...
I'll tell you what, I can't understand that. I don't think our schools, our local schools, really are going to appreciate this. And that's just the way I feel about it.
Well, I guess the question I would ask Councilor Thornton, does he know where the money that goes to that we donate now?
It goes to the school.
But where? In the school, it goes into the general fund where those dollars go.
Right.
And they can spend that on a car, they can spend it on a van, they can spend it on a basketball court, they can spend it in.
If we're going to do this, then let's take all funds and earmark it for one thing or two things, where it would help all our kids and not a certain school out there that you pick somewhere to give money to.
Well,
If you want to earmark them, well, let's earmark them. That's the way I feel about it.
Well, the money that we give for the tag tax now, you're right, it's not earmarked for anything. It just goes into the general fund of those schools. And I just feel like if they had proposals that would support culture or language in the school system, at least our Indian kids would be getting those, get the results from those applications.
I thought we already supported Indian clubs in schools with Johnson O'Malley. They're not supporting.
I don't think so. I think Johnson O'Malley is more or less for the more or less individualized for schools and not clubs.
Or is this above and beyond the regular budgetary item for schools? Is this a separate little fund but is this a separate fund?
It's a separate fund that's drawing from the tag tax. That'll be taken out of the tag tax.
Okay.
Who picks where it goes?
I believe it's going to the education department. Mel, is that how we set it up, to the education department where it goes to?
It would essentially set up a grant program that would be administered by education. And it's the same schools eligible.
Mr. Thornton, you finished?
Yes. Thank you.
Ms. Fishinghall?
Harley, I got a question. The only sticking point with me is, will the schools in the 2-mile limit outside the King County jurisdictional boundary, will they be allowed to go after this money?
Yes, the way it was set up, anybody that received a car tax.
Anything else, Ms. Fishing Hawk?
No.
Ms. Calhoun Watts?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When Harley called me about this legislation, I was kind of excited because I think the original intent of how we use our Cherokee Nation tax money, this is not the school's tax money, this is not anyone but the Cherokee people's tax revenue that we have chosen to allocate to schools in some manner. When I get feedback, not just from my district's parents, but when I hear other parents and community leaders within Cherokee talk about our tag money for schools, I understood when Councilman Buzzard approached me about this legislation and for my support was their frustration that many times they have little or no influence on their local school board who currently allocates the use of our tags money when we so graciously give it to them without earmarks at this time, based on a number of certified blue card holding tribal Cherokee Nation citizens in their school system. So I was excited to see a compromise, a balance between our partnership with our local schools in the state of Oklahoma and also our ability to administer our oath of office for the commitment for Cherokee programs such as language in schools and other things, because when I talk to my parents, that's what they want to see with our tribal tag monies. They want to see more Cherokee history, Cherokee culture, Cherokee language taught in the schools, which this money could be used for, but because they feel like they don't have empowerment at the local school board level, which is the administrator of those funds after we hand it over, I thought this was a unique way to balance our interest of our partnership with non-Indians as well as using our tag revenue or our tax money on our citizens to allocate towards our commitment to maintaining our culture even with these mainstream public school systems. So it would take the existing budget and only take a small portion to be competitively between schools that could compete for this money. So in all honesty, I may lose money if Rogers County Schools choose not to participate in the competitive funding. That money could go to other districts where they have possibly more teachers for the local school systems that could provide in those programs. But because of my overall commitment for the broader picture for the tribe and how we promote our culture, I get excited about that, even if it meant a potential loss of funding in my district. So I appreciate the leadership that Harley, because this has been frustrating for me too, and I think Harley has a great solution for us to try on how we implement our tag money, and I'm excited about this, so I'll be supporting it today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Mr. Baker?
And Harley's idea is a good idea, but we need to find another way to fund it. The mode of the tax, we didn't just arbitrarily decide that we were going to give 35% to the schools. When we decided to do tags and we compacted with the state, the one feature, the one underlying feature that we as a tribe did not want to do was take away from the public schools. And so we figured out if we do not sell tags and they buy tags at the state tag office, this is the amount of money that's going to go directly to the school system. So we dedicated those dollars to go to those same school systems so that we would hold the public school systems harmless. Now, it didn't say that we were going to tell them how to spend the money, because we were holding them harmless so that they got the same amount of money whether the Cherokee sold tags or they didn't, because the public school is the major educator of our kids. And so I am adamantly against pulling 10% out and going it on a competitive basis. I am not against taking gaming dollars or gen fund dollars and setting up a competitive program. I'm all for it, Harley. I guarantee you. And But I think we would be breaking our promise to the public schools in our districts in the state of Oklahoma that we took money out of their coffers, promised we would put it back, and this is not keeping that promise. And that's as simple as I can put it, and I cannot support not sending the money back to where it originally was taken from. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hoskins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also think a competitive program is a good idea, and I think what Councilman Bill John Baker just said is really compelling. I think we have to think hard about being inconsistent with what we said, what was the spirit of the legislation and the compacts. But assuming we did pass this, I'm curious, would Sequoia Public Schools be eligible for this competitive grant?
Yeah.
And that kind of gets to one problem I might have if it gets enacted about our ability to equitably distribute these awards across Cherokee Nation. I think Sequoia Public Schools is going to be in a tremendous position of formulating a grant proposal that'll be worthy of funding. At the same time, it's going to add to the concentration of dollars in this part of Cherokee Nation, and it could detract from dollars up in other parts of Cherokee Nation. I also would be curious about this fiscal year. How much does 10% represent? I don't know, Doug, if you know that off the top of your head, but if this was a law now, how much money would we be talking about?
Approximately $300,000.
$300,000. I guess there could be a significant number of competitive awards. I mean, it's really, I think, an appealing idea to have a competitive program, provided there was some equity about it. But I have to stop short of supporting it just for the reasons that Councilman Bill John Baker stated, and I think it might even be worth tabling and restructuring with a different funding source, because I do think it's a wonderful idea, but I just would be cautious about taking that off the top of the money that's already been committed to the schools. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Sure. If you're going to make a motion to table later, I'd like to let these other people speak first.
Absolutely.
Dr. Cobb?
Councilor Baker and Councilor Hoskins kind of echoed what I was thinking, and you answered the amount of money. And I'll yield some of my time to Councilor Buzzard. I know initially, and I still believe that the intent of this is good, because I know that Harley's been frustrated. I think there is some accountability, maybe too strong of a word, but I know that earlier in a committee earlier today, Councilor Soap had mentioned something about county commissioners and roads funds and those kind of things, and I think there is a little bit of an expectation that if we're giving this amount of money to an entity, and I understand in this situation it is compacts, that I think the inherent implication is that we would like to know that it's being used for, what's it being used for? And I know that Councilor Buzzard has been frustrated in some cases that there have been some programs in his district and some of these schools that need funding, and the comment has been, we gave you X amount of dollars from our tag money. Why aren't these Cherokee kids, why aren't these programs being funded? And so I know the intent of this is simply that, we're given X amount of dollars. I want to know that you're taking care of our citizens' kids. I'd like to yield some time to Councilor Buzzard and let him respond to some of, because there's been several things talked about since he last spoke. And there's a possibility of a motion to table. I'd just like to know what he has to say on some of those.
There's a couple other people before we turn it back to Mr. Buzzard, if you don't mind.
Be great.
Mr. Thornton?
Yes. When we first came out with this tag money tax, I was probably the only one on the council that supported earmarking this funding for Cherokee students. And that went down the drain real quick. But the thing is, Janelle and I have schools in our district that are dominantly Cherokee. And you take 10% out of what they're getting, they're really bad shape right now. Because the state of Oklahoma is just fixing to take 7% more out of this. so out of their overall budget. So, you know, I've got to be against this, but I am dominantly for taking this funding and earmarking it for Cherokee students. That's the way I feel about it.
Mr. Toles?
Yeah, I don't see where the total funding has changed. I mean, I don't see how we're taking those tax dollars and reallocating to something else. I mean, it's a program that's set up to say it's going to be competitive. The schools are actually going to tell us how they're going to spend it. We're still not telling the schools how they're going to spend it. I mean, if you go back to the state tags, it was my understanding that those could be distributed across the whole entire state of Oklahoma. They can be redistributed out to the southern tip of the Panhandle if that's what was necessary. We're still keeping the money here locally, and I think that there's a lot of opportunity that can come out of competitive funding provided for these programs. That you hear this out in the communities more and more, so we would like to do this, we would like to do this. But for some reason or another, there's no funding available, or the school administrative systems won't support them with those dollars. So I just think that the total funding hasn't changed. We're not telling the schools how to do it, and I think it's a really good proposal. Thanks.
Mr. Baker?
And I agree it's a good proposal. I disagree that anytime we take 10% out and say, you can get this, but you have to tell us how you're going to spend it. Because right now, these public schools are struggling to stay alive. They're struggling to buy paper, and they're having to forgo substitute teachers, and they're having to, I mean, this is a time in public education that is as maybe the second worst that I've ever seen. And they're not flying high. They're cutting their budgets. The estimates coming in from the state are going down and down, and each year we've given them a percentage, and don't kid yourself. They know where it comes from, and they count on those dollars. And I'm just saying that if you take 10% off the top and give them that much less, that we're not keeping our word. Now, I agree it's a good idea. I agree it's a good program. I agree that the schools need it. I agree with everything that Harley's trying to do. I just beg that we pull it and fund it with the carryover dollars or some other form of funding. Because, folks, we're all about education. We've always been about education. And we know it doesn't make sense for us to educate every Cherokee child out there. And let's keep this partnership with the schools going. Let's not pull back and say, like I say, the dollars that they're getting, they're probably saying no to some of these Cherokee programs because they're trying to keep the doors open. They're trying to pay the utilities. They're trying to pay substitute teachers. They're trying to pay all these other things. And this is the worst time in the state of Oklahoma's history in 30 years on public education. And let's just not do this, and let's leave it like it is. Let's pass those dollars on that we promised them, just like they were, and then let's take some carryover funds and let's put $200,000 in this program and go forth and prosper with it. Thank you.
Ms. Fulbright?
Yes, thank you. I've thought a lot about Harley's bill. I agree with the spirit of it, that it would be good to have something out there competitive just to help the Cherokee students. But being from Sequoia County, and I'm very familiar with all the schools down there, my husband and brother are both school administrators, and I know how tight the budget is. Fortunately, at their schools, they have been very conservative, and they have a large carryover, and they aren't hurting. But there are schools in Sequoia County where administrators told me that next year they may have to lay off half the staff. They are on the verge of closing. They are really hurting, and I don't think it would be a good time to take 10% of the money that we have set aside. I would like for the money to remain the way it is and go to the school administrators to be decided upon by the local school board how to best utilize the funds. I know Mr. Thornton's school, they had to cut back up there on band and different things, and several of the schools in Sequoia County are really hurting. Gore has gone to a 4-day week, and they laid off, a tremendous amount of their staff. So I just don't think it's a good time to cut back by the 10%, but Harley, I do agree with the spirit of your bill if we would fund it in a different way. So I can't support it this time. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Fishing Hawk, and then,
I think I'd be kind of be for cutting some of the money we're giving to the politicians this afternoon and funding your ideals. Harley? So I think our schools and our education need a lot more than our politicians do.
hello, Ms. Fishing Hawk. Mr. Crittenden?
She took the words right out of my mouth. I love it. But just like with the issue last night or yesterday when we were talking about the house on trust land that we approved and agreed to transfer a title years and years ago, she fulfilled her commitment. We owed her a deed. We made a commitment on this on this compact with the state, and I think we need to honor that. I like the competitive part of this thing. But as Jody mentioned, there's other places to find funding. And I just feel we were handed today about this. I couldn't go along with none of that. So, I mean, there's a pretty good chunk right there we could reallocate. That's just my thoughts. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
You had deferred to Harley and you wanted to go back.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I've served on a school board, and they do appreciate what we give them. And I know the school board in Locust Grove spends that money wisely. And I do, believe it or not, I do agree with Mr. Baker. It's a wonderful idea, and I think we should do it. But I think we should look for a different funding source. Mr. Buzzard, but I'll turn it back over to you.
And the comments
If I point of order real quick, I still have the floor, but it's deferred. I do have one comment, if I may.
Oh, I thought you were giving it back to him.
I do, but can I make a comment since I have the floor?
Well, one comment.
Somebody that nobody's asked, does this in any way, shape, or form change the compact with the state? What we're attempting to do?
I've reviewed the compact, and the compact requires 38% be apportioned to schools. It doesn't require how the 38% is distributed.
Thank you.
And you know, I've listened to the comments, and they've all been good comments. I think and this is what this is about, is here expressions from the other committee members here, and I appreciate the fact here. But going back, and I feel like what Councilor Soap said about it didn't change the dollars that go to the schools because it's still going to the school system. What I feel sorry for is some of these little kids that go to the Delonaghy school, that goes to the Leach school, go to the Oak schools up there. They get $6,000. What can they do with $6,000? They would never be able to fund a program. We got a little school over there at Oaks, struggling. We got a school over there at Leach. It got about 100 kids. We got a school at Kenwood. It's got 70 kids. They might get $3,500. What if they come up with an excellent program to say we're going to have a computer program for our school system at Kenwood? They could fund it. They're never going to be able to fund a program with the $2,000 they get from us. So that's what I'm looking out for, is some of the poor districts that can never fund those programs. You just heard Councilor Watts talk a while ago. You know, she may lose funding from her schools. Or Councilor Cobb. They're a little bit better shape than we are in Delaware County and Cherokee County and Adair County, and that's what I'm talking about. Those little schools that get $1,500, you know, what are they going to do with $1,500? And that's what I want to give those kids at Leach. I want to give those kids at Leach have an opportunity to go in and make a proposal. To say we want to build a playground out here where we can teach our kids about the 7 clans. Those things like that takes dollars. And they're never going to do it with the $1,500 they get every year. So that's my proposal. I think I've heard some good thoughts on everything, and so this heard from Mrs. Knight that it does not take away from the compact. So I would still like people to support it, but I appreciate the fact that everybody had input on this thing. So thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Dr. Call, for your time.
Any other questions or comments?
Make a motion to table to give Councilor Buzzard an opportunity to find a different funding source for this wonderful idea.
Motion to table. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got a second to table. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion to table is a yes. Roll call.
David Thornton,
Yes.
Cherokee Watts,
No.
Bill England,
No.
Bill John Baker,
Yes.
Jack Baker,
No.
Harley Buzzard,
No.
Julia Coates, Brad Cobb,
No.
Joe Crittenden,
Yes.
Jody Fishinghawk,
Yes.
Meredith Fraley,
Yes.
Janelle Fulbright,
Yes.
John Garvin,
No.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.,
Yes.
Tyler Roller Jordan,
Yes.
Chris Stokes,
No.
Curtis Snell.
Yes.
Nine yea, 8 nay.
9 yes, 8 no. Motion table carries. Okay, the next item is selection of Cherokee Nation Tribal Council Secretary. Our current secretary, as you know, is Don Garvin, and I know that he wanted to be reconsidered. Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to nominate Mr. Garvin to continue on as secretary. I think he's done a great job, and he's pretty close. And I don't believe he's ever burdened him, so I think he's been a good one, so I'd like to.
Second. Moved in second, and we nominate Don Garvin. Any other nominations?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Charles Hoskin Jr.
Joe, do I have a second on Mr. Hoskin?
I'll second.
Moved in second. Any other nominations? Okay, we'll vote on Mr. Garvin first. Yes means you support Mr. Garvin as Tribal Council Secretary. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Roll call for Mr. Garvin as Secretary.
Tyler Roller Jordan,
No.
Chris Stokes,
Yes.
Curtis Snell,
No.
David Thornton,
Yes.
Cherokee Watts,
Yes.
Bill England,
Yes.
Bill John Baker,
No.
Jack Baker,
Yes.
Harley Buzzard,
Yes.
Julia Coates,
Yes.
Brad Cobb,
Yes.
Joe Crittenden,
No.
Jody Fishinghawk,
No.
Meredith Fraley,
I'm not seeing Mr. Hoskin get his feet wet, so no.
Janelle Fulbright,
Yes.
Tom Garvin,
Yes.
Yeah.
Chuck Hoskin Jr.
No.
Ten yeas, 7 nay.
10 yes, 7 no for Mr. Garvin as Secretary. Congratulations, Mr. Garvin.
Thank you very much. Thank you, council.
Okay, under new business, resolution permitting nomination of Carlisle Roberts to the Cherokee Nation Waste Management Board. Ms. Knight.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We would request that this be tabled to next month. We did not get a resolution timely over to the council, so we'd like you to have opportunity to review
Move the
that.
table.
Second.
Move to table in second. All in favor, signify by saying aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 2 is an amendment to the, well, we already did that one, didn't we?
Yes.
It passed, didn't it? Okay, any announcements? Yeah, entertain motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Mr. Baker, look at that clock.
You're perfect. Well, not quite.